Okay, well, excuse me, coughing already. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this EADL webinar come workshop. We're delighted to have you with us, and you can see in the background, of course, there's a shot of Prague, which is where our next conference is, and we're hoping that that will be of interest to you because it's about artificial intelligence and distance learning and really where we're going next. And we have a couple of really exciting themes, one on pedagogy and the other one on business models, and a number of expert speakers. But because this field is changing so fast, we've kept it open, but we have a number of speakers lined up for you and workshop leaders lined up for you. So we hope you're going to want to go to our website and have a look at the content that we've got up there and look at the speakers and so on and sign up. We have an early bird offer which finishes fairly soon, so it would be good if you want to come to get signed up for that. So that's the commercial over. I'm John Trasler, I'm the president of EADL, and it's my privilege to welcome you to this session this afternoon. We have quite a few people joining us, which is why I'm talking to fill the gap before I hand over to our moderator this afternoon, who is Andrea Petersen, who's from the Apollon University in Germany. And we also have, of course, a very exciting presentation and discussion. So we want you to get involved with that, with questions and answers and so on, and we'll have a Q&A session towards the end of that. So I think we probably have a reasonable number of people who've joined now already, and it's only 3:01, so that's really good. Everybody's much more on the ball than they were with this 2 or 3 years ago, so it's great. Good to welcome you, and I'm going to hand over to Andrea now. Okay, so Andrea, over to you.
Yes, hello and welcome. I am delighted to welcome you to this wonderful webinar. Let's see how exciting it gets today. And before we start, I just want to present the possibilities that you will be having in this webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat or raise your hand. We will hear a little bit of a presentation, and afterwards there is a lot of time to discuss or answer or whatever questions. As I will guide you through this event today, I'm joined today by Christos, who will be hosting the chat and taking in your questions. So you might just write down your question and he will be taking it up. So I think we're going to get another a very good discussion at the end of the meeting. We are 30. We have 30 participants so far, so I think we can make a start. It's going to be something about AI today. AI is changing our world in many, many ways, but I think education is going to be subject to change as well. And Rasmus Petersen will present one possibility to use AI in a learning context. If you look at the possibilities of AI, I think if we look into the future, we will see that we will be developing scenarios, learning scenarios, where we can have personalized learning much more than today. So, because if we can analyze people's learning behavior, we will then be able to have maybe have AI react to this, the preferences, and in that we will have more efficient learning scenarios, I hope. Let me introduce to you Rasmus Petersen. He is Chief of Development at the company Praxis from Copenhagen. And Praxis is a part of a large Danish publishing house, and they offer a wide range of products. In addition to setting up Moodle learning and management systems, they also produce courses and a great deal of learning material for various target groups. He is an expert in the field of youth and also vocational training project development. And as head of development, he has extensive experience in the design of e-learning scenarios. And obviously, he's a pioneer in the use of artificial intelligence in this context. Today, we will talk with Rasmus about the diverse possibilities of AI in learning scenarios, and we will learn how it is changing the education sector and what opportunities it will offer for distance learning scenarios. I'm sure we will benefit all from Rasmus' insight and also his experience. if you look at AI and learning management systems, you can have different angles. You can have like chatbots and an AI which will guide you through the learning process, or you can have what I said, learning analytics, and then guide people through their learning process. Rasmus will be taking a look at how learning material can be, let's say, enhanced by AI, and what kind of effects we can use with learning materials in these learning settings. So, dear participants, sit back, keep your questions in mind or put them into the chat, and let's dive into the world of AI and education together. So welcome, Rasmus.
Thank you, Andrea, and thanks to EADL for letting me tell you something about our work with AI today. And I will share my screen here, and I will just start. So yeah, the possibilities are many here in with the AI, and we have just beginning to see the top of the iceberg. So how does it affect learning, and what can we do with it, especially when we look at learning materials and learning management systems? So I am from Praxis, a Danish publisher, with we are especially making learning materials for youth education in Denmark and vocational training, vocational education, and we also have a company on the side that's called Moxis, which makes LMS systems in Moodle. Maybe some of you have heard about them. So the possibilities are really big, and there is a lot of possibilities with AI today, and I will just show you the fundamentals of what we have started to do with our view on AI. And you can use it in so many ways, but like before we can integrate it in an LMS system, we have tried to look at, so how can you actually use it in our products, and how can you make a fundament or a basis of how you can integrate an AI function into like systems or learning materials and so on. So I will today tell you about a specific function that we have developed over the last 3 or 4 months. So AI today can be used as both like in the classroom for so many things. But how do we qualify our use of AI? So we need to, in learning environments, we need to use AI so that we just don't get lost in that crazy big information load there is on ChatGPT with all the prompt techniques and the critical thinking you have to do when you have to use this product. So I will take you through what we have done, and it's what we call when chatbots become a bookbots. We have created what we initially created a chatbot that we now call a bookbot because we need to reframe this product. I will tell you when we go through this presentation. So what we have done is we have taken OpenAI, we have taken our books as a publisher, and then we have taken some didactical thinking and some different approaches to AI and combined those three into a certain bot. It means that we have in the top circle, we have this natural language processing, which comes from OpenAI, an engine that basically can talk and write and understand the logic of language. Then we have our books. We call them the model for knowledge. We have curated a lot of books, really good books, high quality, especially made for the Danish systems and so on. And then we have this bot behavior. So we have some prompts and some rules that this bot needs to follow. So mixing those three, we get what we call a book bot. So it's something that can talk or write. It's something that knows something really specific, and it's something that should behave in a certain way. So those three elements we have combined in that little bot you see in the center of the screen, and that helps students with different things. So as far as we can see it, it really helps students to find the right knowledge, right? And we of course, we go into the product a little later. I'll just show you the basis for this. So how does it work? Like, a student comes with an input, and then the OpenAI searches the book for the answer. Pretty simple search machine. It processes the answer, and then it applies some rules. There's something it should do and something it shouldn't do, and then it comes to an output to the student. So that's pretty much the basics. So again, compared with ChatGPT, it's still a knowledge of knowledge. It has some certain boundaries, and it has some certain behavior. So the input could be a free text. It could be suggested messages. It means that we guide the student in search specific things. And the input could also be audio. So they can talk to this bot. They can record their own voice and talk to the bot, especially if you have a problem spelling or writing. You can, instead of writing to the bot, you can actually talk to it, and you can always get an answer where it answers in audio. So the output is again text and explanation. And if the student searches for a concept, for an example, it will come back with a text and explanation on the concept, and it will raise a question to the student about, have you considered this maybe? Or do you want to read something about as a concept nearby? Then it comes with a book reference. It references where they can find it in the book. It can show pictures and models over what's in the book. And it can also get an audio out, so the answer can answer the student with a synthetic speech function that we have from the AI company called 11 Labs. So basically, what we've done here is that you can now speak to a book. You can tell the book to do something, and the book will answer. I have to say, we have made this with a Danish company called Apply, and they are specialists is working with the process where the OpenAI and the book works together. They are really good at that data science that is between the natural language processing and the model for knowledge. It's really complicated with all the vectors and the tokens and so on. So what is the differences? So what the overall mission is here to create those bots that can have a certain function. And you can already see the difference here. So the OpenAI is a text generator, and it has an unbounded knowledge model. It has a really weak pre-prompts and a possibility for false answers. So first of all, it's a text generator. People can use it as a text generator, and it can write a lot of text. We all know that. But the knowledge model it's built on is basically the whole internet. Nobody really knows what it's built on, but it's really built on a lot of stuff. it has a really weak pre-prompt, so it has some biases it has to accept, but otherwise the user have to know how to prompt probably to get the full potential out of the OpenAI, and you can learn to prompt, that's for sure. The possibility for false answers, there is a possibility for false answers, especially when you go into really specialist topics, and we should see here a little later, and just in a minute when I show you the bot, like if you go into like carpentry or masons, it's really specific knowledge that the OpenAI doesn't know a lot about, but we have the books, we have the knowledge, and we can use the OpenAI to talk through that books, so to say. So the book bot, I have a little Danish lesson here today. This is Bo. It's book in Danish, and we call it a book bot. And so we see it an explanation generator. We want it to give some answers to the students. It's a limited knowledge model, so it doesn't know everything in the whole world. It only knows what's in the book. And if the students ask something that's not in the book or in that specific model of knowledge, it says, sorry, I can't help you. There's a really strong pre-prompt. So the strong pre-prompt is in this bot behavior. It's here. So we have a master prompt that tells always when you answer the student, you have to do this and this and this, and we have some rules that also needs to apply. You have to do this, you have to do that. So we also see there's a really strong pre-prompt, so the students doesn't have to prompt as hard to get the answer, and there's a less possibility for false answers. We also can see that, especially in specialist education. For an example, if you look at the carpenters again, or masons, or I really there's just been we are in the beginning of this new AI technology, and it's unbelievable that I don't think it has been existed like for 17 or 18 months, and it's already has done a tremendous impact. It also means that there is not a lot of reports out there, but there are some, and there's just been this Norwegian report that says actually that 7 out of 10 students in Norway, we like to compare ourselves with Norway, use it as an explanation generator, use OpenAI already as an explanation generator, not as much a text generator. And we really would like this to have like a more didactical purpose. Instead of just creating text, we have to we wanted to get good explanations. Let us try GDPR and climate. I just have to say, because that's also something that's we of course need to be aware of. GDPR, we don't track anything on the students. It's all anonymized. You don't have to have a special login to use the bot. We don't. It doesn't save. It doesn't save the. It's how you call it, the data. It's anonymized data. Climate. We have just moved our servers to Sweden to make sure that it's green energy it uses, so we don't have that problem. Okay, let's try and I will try to show you how it is, how it functions. So can you see the bot now?
Yes.
So here you meet our book. This is a classic digital book, and you can go through the book. This is for carpenters. I think it's a little 2 seconds, sorry. I think there's a lot of going on the network. Yeah, it's pretty bad at loading. Maybe I should turn my camera off. So here we see a classical web book, a digital book. And down here we have a bot. and we can, so we have some suggested messages, so we can tell the students, or they can text freely what they need to know. So I have this concept called a keel. I'm not a carpenter at all, but let's try and see what it does. So it searches in the book, and it then prepares the answer, and it comes with it comes with
Rasmus, I think kale is something like a piece of wood, isn't it?
yeah,
Okay, because
and it comes with an answer, and I could also, and then it gives me a picture from the book, and it gives me like, where can you read about it? And then I go in here and I can look blah blah blah, and I can look about kale, and I could also read up here, and I could do something about a roof. So say it's a special roof, sort of special roof. It's a little slow because I think we have a lot of going on the network with this meeting and me sharing a screen. So it answers here something about how it normally has to be some degrees. I can't really translate all this, and then again, it ends with a question for the student. So, is there anything more you'll need to know? And you can go in here and read about this special kind of roof. I could also record my own voice on the mic here, and I can get it read up loud here on that one, so I can actually like put my voice into it and so on.
So would it be possible if I can that I can just say, how do I build such a kind of roof? I mean, you have just put in some words, some keywords.
Yeah. I can see how do I build this roof, and then it will give you a starting explanation, and then you have to prompt ask again. So to build this, you need to know about the form and the different curves. I don't know actually how to translate all this, but we have had special SMEs on, subject matter experts, that have gone through a lot of these answers, and this is especially in this topic, it's used a lot. It's really a popular book. So it tells me a lot about different things. It tells me that there's movies and pictures inside the book, and this is what this special kind of roof. Yeah, so you can say it actually gathers 7 things for me in the book. So this must be a pretty complex thing to do, right? Yeah.
So the special thing about it is, if I get it right, that it gives you the facts about this special kind of roof, but it also puts like a little bit of a question at the end, and so people are not only intaking information but also have to think further. Is that correct? Is that like part of the concept?
That's part of the concept. We end with a question each time. So we want to trigger the nudge the student to go further, to have a dialogue with the bot. Go into the book, read a little about it, go into the book again, or to in the bot again, ask some questions, and go in and out of the bot, and go like how you call it, interact with the bot and interact with the book, right? We have seen in this book that our first data shows that the students are actually 30% more in the books after we have installed this function, and this could be used like also as a support bot and so on. Like we also have we have a lot of rules behind it. We let's try to look at how we do that. So first of all, how do we develop it? So this is like this is like the two systems we use for developing it. So in the lowest end, in the teaching function, we have like what's important for us to make sure that the student gets, and how it teaches student stuff. It's give correct and capable answers. The language is good, and the form is also good. That it can answer in different forms, like both in different styles, but also with pictures and the right references. We want to make it a helper, not a slave, so it has to guide the student, not to solve all the problems for the students. We have some rules that it says that it shouldn't like give answers away to the students, more like trying to help the student reflect on certain things. It's also important that it's a bullshit detector, because there's a lot of students who use it like they really want to test if they can break it, like getting the bot to say something outrageous, or trying to break the rules or the prompts behind it and stuff like that. It's you quickly see they adapt to the product and actually go into it. And so this thing about hallucinating, we all sometimes see this in the ChatGPT, that it hallucinates. That means that it just babbles on about something and it keeps repeating itself. It's because of the limited knowledge model. We have not seen yet that it starts to hallucinate. We had some times in the start where it hallucinated, but actually we don't see it anymore. And then the length of the answers. It's really hard to control, and maybe it's not that important how long the answer is sometimes, because we know it reference to the book. As a didactical function, we use some other parameters to qualify how this bot works. So we look for qualities of the answers. Of course, that's always the most important when we work with learning materials. We have to get the right quality of answers, correct answers. We need to learn the students the right things, right? But then effectivity and performance. So is it fast? Like they don't want to sit and wait for an answer in when they use this bot. Cognitive effort, is it easy to use? Should I onboard myself to use this function in my book? No, you can use it right away. It's a free text search, trustworthy. Like, do I feel that the bot gives me the right answers? Experience autonomy, like that means that it's important for us that the student feels that the student is in control of the situation, that it can do it in our own tempo. There is no stupid question and so on. The student is free to feel whatever they need to get to understand in a certain topic. And added value, of course, like, does the bot give an added value to the learning material, right? So how do students use it? They use it a lot in one-word searches, and you can do that in our bot because we have a strong pre-prompt. They use really short sentences. They summarize chapters, and then they also sometimes ask what's the answer for a specific task. They find references, where in the book is X, example creation, and then again, sometimes the students use what I call bullshitting. They tend to try to have some fun with the bot, but the bot doesn't really fall for that. So how should the student use it? They should use it in one-word searches and short sentences and summarized chapters, and get an invite to study in the book. It's really important for us that they use these references in the book and go into the book and start a dialogue with the bot. And we don't want to have them looking for what's the answer for, because sometimes we can see they just use it as like a task solving machine. And then right now we are actually having some new development things that should not like have some functions that should prevent this. And then what we also want the students to is to get feedback. Like I am thinking about this, and I have to make a presentation about this topic in the book. How can I get some feedback on my presentation or this little task I have to do? And then there was also something about study technique. Yeah. So like the didactics of it, so this is a more complex discussion, but I have just framed 4 different topics here. So it's really effective in the low taxonomy, like remember and understanding stuff. And we should always remember that the like a book bot like this is an objective machine. It gives objective answer from the book. So what we need to try to engage the student in is to be subjective. Like we can train their subjectivity, their critical sense. We need to give them some good questions that they can think about and go in a dialogue with the bot, right? Scaffolding is becoming much more easy because it's much more personalized. They can ask the questions themselves and what they found difficult, and they can personalize their own learning in that way with the bot. Drill down versus sewing. So this is a really interesting thing, I think. So drill down means that you can drill down in a knowledge area much more easily with bots. So usually when we go out and find knowledge, we use a sewing method. Sewing means that you put out you sow your field, and then you hope for something, that you find something, right? You Google something and you go maybe on the Wikipedia page or another page, and you hope that it will bring you a good answer, and then you eventually find your answer. And like a book bot, it's much more of a drill down. So you can drill down in a certain topic. You can really know something about roofs in this carpenter book, right? And then the last thing I have put on here is what we call the law of amplification, and that's also a quite interesting thing. It's when we always work with digital learning, we see this law of amplification. I can't remember saying this. Maybe some of yeah, some of you that's here today maybe know the Japanese researcher, but he calls this the law of amplification. Is when we go to digital learning, we see that some tendencies is become amplified. So the good things is becoming even better, and the worst things becoming even worse. And that's always like really what we need to be aware of. So I have 2 more slides. I will just go through that. Is there any questions, or should we wait with them? Maybe this is just to have some of the didactics we are thinking about more of a philosophical level, and trying to describe these new functions in AI. We were so lucky that some students from Aalborg University in the northern part of Denmark made a study of our chatbot, or not our chatbot, but really much inspired of our chatbot. But the thing was, they used our chatbot, but it was not in the book. It was not, as we saw before, put into the book. It was like a more free chat you had with the bot. So actually, we saw that for their results, it's especially what you can see as a chatbot versus a book. So it was 11 students who participated in this research, and this is what it ended with scoring. So the chatbot actually was seen as having more overall quality than a book. The trust was a little higher in the digital book, but they also trusted the chatbot or the bookbot. And actually, what the researchers told us was that it was that one of the reasons why it didn't score as high as the trust as the teachable book was that it was not integrated in the book while they were testing it. So that's what we have done now. We are integrated it in the book. Autonomy, the student, the user feels there's more autonomy, and the effort is much more less than using the book. And the overall satisfaction, it also scored higher. So we were pretty happy for this research, and it showed there was for us a big potential in using these book bots. This last thing I would say, the situation in Denmark is just to tell where we are today. I think it's like a broad terms. And there's a lot of digitalization in Denmark, but there is also a big debate in Denmark right now about too many screens in public schools and too many screens in education. And there is a strong drive from politicians that wants more analogous books in the classroom again. So there is like a double movement in Denmark. We want to digitalize our school world, but also there are really strong forces right now that wants to make it more with analog things again. And there's I actually agree that there should be a good mixture of both. And it's to digitalize the schools. It takes, and all the learning materials takes a long time to implement. It takes a lot of years. And for AI, I think also there's a lot of really interesting things happening. I think the biggest problem we are facing right now is that I saw a talk with one of the members of the student union and youth education in Denmark, like nationwide. He said that actually with AI, the worst case scenario is right now. So because it moves so fast, it develops so fast, and there is not any rules for the students, right? I would say that it's more safer for the students and for the teachers to send the students into a bookbot than it is to sending them in ChatGPT, because they get an answer that is curated. And then we see like some more maybe ethical issues for the teachers, that they feel that they have to be suspicious towards the student, and they don't like that, but it's really hard for them to navigate in this AI produced this assignment that I'm going through right now from the student, or and they feel like they have to be detective, and that's not good for anybody. And we have seen already a start of this is called students call it AI shame, that they are afraid. They are afraid to think maybe my teacher think in AI created this answer, so I am afraid that I will get punished because maybe my teacher thinks it's AI, and we really need to do something about that right now, because it's really not good for the learning environment. And yeah, that was basically it.
Thank you very much, Rasmus, for this presentation. And I think there are some questions in the chat already. So maybe Christos, you can take up the questions, and let's see if Rasmus has an answer for them.
Yes, of course. We've got a couple of questions. Feel free, everyone, to put your hand up and come in if you'd like. We have a question from Wilfred Rubens, who asks, does this approach mean that prompt engineering becomes not so important at all? And then Andreas followed with how without effort, no learning. Sorry, Wilfred Rubens, Andreas.
Yeah, I think prompt engineering is really important still. But I think for this special function, it's not that important. Like we have pre-prompted so much that you can easily learn it. You can easily do it. So about the effort. So I still think prompting is really important if you use a OpenAI, and a lot of people do that. So that's important still. It's a good thing to learn. About effort. So when I say effort, I don't mean that we mean cognitive effort, means that, so how much do I have to, how big of an effort cognitive do I have to make to understand how to use the product? If I go into sometimes learning materials, digital learning materials can be really complex, and I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? I should push that button and maybe go down here, and then I have to write something here and get an answer. That would be a high effort. And this is a pretty low effort because it's just write a text, write a question, and you will get an answers. That's what I mean about effort. To learn something, yeah, it needs an effort, but that's another effort, I think.
Great, thank you, Rasmus. We've got a question from Andreas Kupsch, who asks, how high is the grade of hallucination in the answers of the Bog points? Do you have any figures for us?
No, I don't have any figures for that, because I think right now we are in a really good place. So where we can, I also have to say, like, this bookbot is not in every book we own. We have tested it on a small variety of books, and are still like developing it and looking how can we make it better, and there's a lot of things going on, on before we implement this bots. But for carpenters, for an example, we actually don't see that it hallucinate. It gives short answers, like we saw, maybe 50 words, 75 words, and it gives a reference. And what the feedback we get is that it gives answers that can be useful and doesn't hallucinate. When it's sandsynlighed, I don't know how to translate that, but sometimes with the language had sometimes given us a little problem. So if you have a topic where there is a lot of English words, and then the bot can maybe sometimes think, even though we have said you have to answer in Danish, that it's an English student who writes to it. It needs to answer in English. We have sometimes, so especially terms like Porter's 5 forces, there is not a translation for that in Danish. It's just what it is. So it can think that student, I need to answer English here because the student is English.
It's interesting because we all work with English terms, not languages, because many of the terms are untranslatable. So it's and I guess this is something that humans do out of context, but perhaps bots not yet. So it's a little bit confused.
Yeah, but it's really rare that I see that.
Yeah. Great, thanks. We've got a question from Niels Hendrik. Would you like to come in, Niels, and ask the question yourself, or would you prefer me to?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. For me, it seems to be a kind of a new generation of textbooks in a way, isn't it? And I was wondering, how does students, learners react to this, and how do teachers react to this? And does it change the pedagogics, or is it just another textbook, or how do they react to it?
So I would actually say that it's actually we are a little too early in that stage. We are running the first tests and interviews and so on now to see how is it used, how do they use it, what potential do the teachers see in it, and so on. So we have had this first research from Aalborg with 11 students, which have scored it pretty high. But it's definitely a new function where text, like, it's a supplement for the textbook. We really want them inside the books and reading and doing all this, but we also want this to be basically, this is a really advanced search engine in the book. It gives a little explanation. It tells you where you can read more and stuff, and you have to engage in a dialogue. Maybe you will stay in the book, maybe you will engage in a dialogue and find another concept. So for now, it's a supplement, that's for sure. It's a function, because these search engines usually in the books are not very good. But this search engine is really good, and it also gives you a little explanation on what it is that you're about to study. So it actually gives you a pre-understanding of the text you're going into.
Thank you, Rasmus. If you have any questions, everyone, either type them in the chat, please, or put your hand up, and we'll bring you in. I had one question, but John, I feel you have a question.
Yeah, well, it's not a question so much. It's just that one of the things that strikes me about all this is that the key thing that comes backwards and forwards is how is that pedagogy changing because of the input of AI? What difference is it making to the way in which we think about learning design? What difference is it making to the way in which we think about the development of the curriculum, and so on? And that's something I think that is the start of a discussion. And it's also one of the things that we have when we meet in Prague. So, we can take that a little bit further. And I think every time I hear a bit more about it, I think, this is a key topic that we need to discuss in a broader context.
Yeah. So it's also important for me to say that some of these bots are closed like 80% of the year, because we close it down in the exams periods. We have to do that because it's not allowed to use AI in the exam. So we need to close it, and it's just in the book as a search engine. You can still pop it up and write, where can I find something about Porter's 5 forces, and then it will lead you to it, but it won't give any explanations and so on. So we close it down for the exams. Yeah. But there is certainly a potential for the teachers that needs to be investigated. I can see that Andrea has a hand.
Yeah, I was just waiting if anybody else wanted to say something. When we were first talking about the topic LMS and chatbots, I was thinking about the whole learning process and a chatbot being able to guide someone through a whole course. What you have done now is just like separated thematically some modules out of the course, and then a chatbot can manage this portion of knowledge very well, at least that's what you found out. So I think the answer of a whole bot guiding you through a whole course with different topics like mathematics and English and whatever is still to be solved, I think. But it's a good approach what you have just presented to us, is that you produce smaller portions of the knowledge, and then you put a chatbot into action. And I think what people might find interesting is how much effort do you have to put into one bot? Like how, I don't know how much money, how much time it is for, I think a book might be something like 400 pages or something. So if you have this kind of material, how much time or how much effort does it take to get the bot running? If that's answerable, I don't know.
Yeah, so first of all, so I hope that it can raise a discussion about actually these knowledge models that we put into these bots and how to make a bot behave. That's really the most important and interesting things for like pedagogy and didactics, is that layer of rules and the knowledge we put into these bots that can make it so we could actually make a English bot. It depends on how you feed it and what you feed it with. The OpenAI is basically a speaking generator or a language generator, right? And I also think that like for us, we can make this in an hour. We can take a book and make a chatbot within an hour, and it's yeah. So it's not that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. But
Yeah.
that's because you have the technology running, right? And then you feed it.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost a lot for us.
Okay.
Rasmus, we have a question from Jens Rolleter in the chat, who asks if you could elaborate a little on the way the student can use it for feedback. For example, can a student upload text?
No. The student cannot upload text, and the student, if the student goes out of the book and into the book, it will be their talk would be erased. It's only when they're in the book, it's open. It's only when you have the dialogue. If you go in and out, it doesn't remember the text. So I have tried. We don't see students use this way because I don't think students know that it can do it. But I have tried to make some. I have to make a presentation about maybe whatever the something and about making a special roof. Can you please help me with a presentation about the roof? And it can give you like a skill, like a structure for a presentation, and you can chat with it, like what is important for me to discuss in this presentation, or I have to make write some pages about this topic in this book. Can you help me structure it, and so on.
Great, thank you. I had a question that perhaps will relate also to other colleagues here, which is this sounds a bit expensive to do, and I was wondering, how would you advise a small organization to go about doing it? Is it better if it's in-house, so you hire somebody who has the capacity to do it? Is it better to collaborate with a company? The specifics, what in your experience works best for a small organization to incorporate this in their learning?
I don't think I would. I don't think I would make the technology myself. As far as I'm not a data scientist, but as far as I know, it's actually a really specialized competence, how you say that, to work with these vectors. I think it's really complex, even for data scientists. So I don't know if a small company can do it by themselves. Maybe they could if they had the knowledge, but also know that it's not that expensive like at Apply, the firm we use, because it's not that it's if you have the specialized knowledge, that's not, I don't think that's not that hard to do, I think. Yeah, I'm a little like the deeper layer of the technology I don't comprehend that, but yeah.
Yeah, so it needs to be a collaborative effort. So educators must work with data scientists and
Yeah, of course.
how
So the
to.
data scientists, they know a lot about that part, but they don't know a lot about the didactics. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Thank you. And we've got a comment and perhaps a question from Andreas in the chat, who says, "I think the BogPod is a good possibility for students to interact with the book in a new way, where students get the possibility to understand text, which else is difficult to understand. Reality is at the same time that teachers can't help all students at the same time or when they experience the need for help. Here, can the BogPod be another possibility to facilitate students learning, and a wink?"
Yeah, I'm happy for that. I would agree.
And there's another question, sorry. Could you elaborate, Rasmus, somewhat more about what you did from a technical perspective? More specifically, is there an LMS or CMS, a learning management or content management system connected via XAP with ChatGPT? A bucket, question mark?
Okay, so it takes a book. So as this is what I have a major, I'm a candidate in philosophy from Copenhagen University. So I don't know a lot about the deep technology, but so what it does is that it takes a book and it atomizes it in a lot of small parts, and then it searches in all those small parts and uses a language to find out how do I give the best answer. That's pretty much, and all these small atomized pieces the book exploded into it. That's all the vectors that's put behind in all kinds of different ways, and that's what it uses to create answers, right? There is not an LMS system behind this. It's we don't like have. I don't know what you mean specific about LMS, but there's not like a Moodle engine or something behind it. It's just an open AI combined with the knowledge models inside the book, right?
Okay. There is somebody saying, Brian says he has created several similar chatbots based on educational material for electrician training, and those are integrated into LMS system. So that's of course a way to connect the bot to the learner's experience. Okay, I think that was the questions.
I think so. I think that's been very. Oh, is there one more?
I think there's Niels. Did you have your hand up?
No, it was along the lines of Brian and saying that even though it's developed like Rasmus is saying, you can access it through your LMS system. So, so yeah.
Yeah, it would be possible it would be possible to integrate, right?
So, yeah. Great presentation. Thank you.
I think it's been an excellent presentation. I think it's really stimulated our thinking. I mean, this field of AI is so fresh, and and new. You know, I found from one week to the next, I don't know what's going on, see what new and what's developed. One thing it has done for me is confirm, I think, some of the things I was saying right at the beginning, which is that the conference that we're planning in Prague in conjunction with the Unicorn University from the Czech Republic takes into account the two things. That one of the themes which we've been discussing this afternoon, the issue about pedagogy and the new learning models for design and what ways might competencies be integrated from the teaching perspective, plus some workshops to get your hands on how to do some of these things. So that's one thing for the conference. And then the other thing, which I think is the other aspect of AI, is how it affects us in terms of business models and how that's changing the way in which learning support is happening. You know, can we get can it help us to get better retention and less dropouts for our students and that sort of thing? All of those are topics that we're hoping to cover in what we are going to cover in Prague, and we hope you'll come and join us. It's good to get a wide audience participation. You don't have to be an EADL member to come to the conference. Please go to our website, eadl.org. It's just on the bottom there of the slide, and have a look. And as I mentioned earlier, we still have an early bird offer, but it is closing soon. So we hope very much to see you in Prague. But I'd like to thank you all for attending the seminar this afternoon, particularly for Rasmus for doing the presentation, and for Andrea for moderating, and for Christos for his collection of the chats and the discussion. So thank you very much, and we hope that we'll see you again at our next webinar session. Thank you a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.